Priscilla Barrera with the Investing News Network, and here with me today is Frank Holmes, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of US Global Investor. Thank you so much for joining us today, Frank.
Good to be with you.
All right, that's great. So just to start, we know that there's been a recovery in the resource sector and many investors are very optimistic about this. Is that optimism justified, or are there any factors that could throw off track this recovery in the space?
I think the biggest fear you have to have is what is called PMI, Purchasing Manufacturers Index. And if global PMI 1 month below the 3 months, it will stall. Do I think it's over? No, but I think we could have a stalling period for a lot of the base metals and energy prices. What you have to have is you have to have global PMI and you have to have US PMI where that last 1 month is above the 3 and they do it for several months. So that's the only headwind I see. Otherwise, take a look at China. They're going to spend $100 billion. Trump 2 weeks later runs over to the Middle East and he's now raising over $100 billion for global infrastructure spending. That's all great economic engine work.
All right. Now, what advice would you give investors looking to jump into the junior mining sector? Can they still make big gains?
Well, you have to do your homework. And there's no doubt you have to be really conscientious of the people behind the project. And I think there's lots of opportunities, but I've always advocated, say, for simplicity with gold, is that you have a 10% weighting, you rebalance each year. So if you go and buy some of these junior names and they do have big moves, you have to take profits off the table and diversify back.
All right. Now, speaking specifically about gold, we know that the prices have been fluctuating since the beginning of the year, and some analysts are going bearish about how high prices can go. Are you still bullish on gold, or?
Well, I've always this 10% weighting and rebalance. I think what's important for investors to recognize is that where gold has a real seasonal pattern to it, where there's a 60 to 70% probability of gold rising between June and January next year. And it will go up higher and then correct and higher. And you have all these, you have Indian wedding seasons, you have the Indian season of lights, you have Christmas, then you have Chinese New Year, and it all starts around now with Ramadan. So we're in a nice part of that cyclical move. I think negative interest rates, Trump cannot get through the deregulation he is pushing for, then rates have to stay low. And they have to go negative to stimulate economic activity, and that'll be very good for gold.
All right, that's great. And aside from gold, are there any other commodities that you're particularly excited about in 2017?
I think copper and I think lithium. I think there's no doubt more and more cars will be going to the battery charge, and you're going to need lithium, and you need more wiring, so copper is going to be important. And if Trump is able to get through all this infrastructure spending he wants, you're going to have big demand for copper in particular.
Okay, that's great. And can you tell us a bit about what companies you like right now or that you're following?
Well, we love a company in Colombia called Gran Colombia. Listed on Toronto. They've done a big turnaround in the company, and you can buy their 2020 gold notes that give you convertibility, and you make almost 10%, get paid monthly. I love that piece of paper. Klondex Gold, they'll be here tomorrow. We think that's just one of those great inexpensive companies that was sold down because of the restructure of the GDXJ ETF that hurt them, but I think it's just great value.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today, Frank.
It's great to be here.
All right, I'm Priscilla Barrera with the Investing News Network, and here with me is Frank Holmes, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of US Global Investor.